You're right, everybody. Welcome back to the Wolfpack podcast. Great to be here again. It's been another long one. We've taken our time with this one, but it's great to be back. Episode 8, I think it is now. We're racking up the numbers. And yeah, it's good. We just joined here really just to speak about the latest sort of news in the transfer market, because obviously it is, as we speak, the summer transfer window. A massive part for Wolves and massive part for everyone supporting Wolves. A lot of players leaving, as which we'll speak about, and hopefully soon a lot of players joining. But yeah, it's not really been the quickest when it comes to that. But great to have you. I'm joined with John. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Not too bad, thanks.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Henry, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, yeah, not too bad. Just hope we get some players in soon. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
main.
we'll get to that, but
Yeah,
hopefully that will be the case. So yeah, let's start with sort of the recent transfer activity. This is sort of the one that sort of happened. It seems like a while ago now because everything else is happening so quick. But Ruben Neves and his transfer to Al-Hilal, it sort of come out the blue, didn't it? I think everyone was sort of thinking, if Neves is going to leave this summer, it will probably be to Barca. You had all the Spanish press sort of saying, "Oh, done deal, he's going to Barca, etc., etc." And nothing really happened. Like every time the Spanish press said something, the English press almost rubbished those links, and which always seems to happen. And then out of nowhere, Matteo Moretto, he sort of brings up the bomb and says that Ruben Neves, is wanted by Al Hilal, and we're thinking, okay, it's all good in being wanted by him, but is he going to want to join them? And then from that evening, I think out of nowhere, he's gone, and he's gone for a really really good fee from Wolves' point of view. And yeah, so what do you think about that, John?
I wasn't expecting the fee to be so big, to be honest. I was getting wound up in the end with Barcelona. I think whenever we do any kind of deals with them, it never really goes in our favour. Even when we think about when we returned Trincao, like we got absolutely screwed over with the loan fee. I think it was like 5 million as
Yeah,
well
it
as just
was.
paying his wages. It just seems a lot of money when you think about how much he potentially could have gone permanently to Sporting for. It just seems like they ripped us off, and obviously with the Edema loan as well. But yeah, so I'm quite glad. Because I don't think he was going to get much chance at Barca. I don't think he was in the manager's plans, so I think he would have just been a bench player. It's not the greatest league for him to go to, but his family and his kids and everything are going to be sorted now for for life. They were sorted anyway, but now like it's cemented. And I still think he's got a chance of getting Champions League football. I could see maybe in 2 years' time or something, maybe there's some kind of an agreement where maybe he can still, because he's not that old, is he? Like he'll be like 2 years' time, be like 28. That's
Yeah,
nothing really
28.
nowadays
Yeah,
for a midfielder. So I think he's got a massive chance of still going in the Champions League and still fulfilling his dream to get that football. And also, I'm just glad of the fee we got because I just thought, really, I think with 12 months left in his contract, the way it was dragging out, I was expecting about 30 to 35 million max, even though he's worth more than that. I just couldn't see a team really paying it outside of Boss, and no one was really linked. So I think in the end, we got a really good fee, and he got a really good payday in regards to wages. So it's kind of win-win.
yeah. I think you've spoken really well there. Couldn't really agree more. What have you got to say, Henry, about it? Anything to add or your
yeah.
thoughts?
As you say, it advanced very quickly, didn't it? You heard the news, interested, and then almost. I remember, I think it was by sort of 2 o'clock that day. We were all, it was pretty much a done deal, and that seems to happen a lot with these Saudi Arabian deals because the fee and the wage is never an issue, is it? So it's
Yeah,
kind of just like we'll pay whatever you want. We'll get this done within the day or two. And at the end of the day, people slating him for, going there, sort of throwing his career away, people are saying. But at the end of the day, he's cemented his career, as John says, he's cemented his family, and it's going to be a big, massive payday for him. And although it's not a competitive league, as John says, he's going to be 29 when his contract's up. It's a win-win for both sides. He could still play Champions League. We get a big fee, and hopefully get us out some FFP issues there. So I think it's a really good deal for both sides, to be honest.
yeah. I think you both spoken well. I couldn't really agree more. I don't really think there's anything else to say on that one. Wish him all the best, and never know. Could see him back at Wolves anytime soon. Who
Yeah,
knows?
one
Um,
surprise.
Yeah, I don't think surprised anyone would it. But I do agree. I think he will be moving to the Champions League club once that contract's ended, or even sort of 2 years into his deal in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
Um, let's move on to another outgoing in Conor Coady. I'm going to share my screen now. Let me know once you can see this. I think he'll bring up Facebook to start with, but we'll.
yeah,
Can
yeah. I
everyone
can
see that? Okay.
see that fine. Yeah,
Um, I need to. There we go. So we're just going to we're on the Wolfpack Twitter here. Follow us if you haven't already. Um, we're just going to go on. Just going to talk. I'm going to try find Coady. Here he is. Perfect. Um,
very hard. We got 6,000 tweets on this.
yeah, literally. Yeah, that's just this transfer window. But basically, we're just going to talk about Coady and similar to what we did with Neves, really, just give our thoughts and opinions on the deal. So firstly, uh, I think it's a great deal for both parties. I think the fee of 7.5 million, possibly raised into 8.5 if Leicester go up, is perfect. I think it suits both parties. Really surprised actually when I heard that the deal was going to be worth that much money, because I certainly didn't think we'd get that much. If you take into the context of Everton rejecting the chance to buy him for 4.5, the fact for us to get 8.5 is absolutely brilliant in my opinion. So I was really pleased. I think it was both sort of the right time for both parties to move on. He's been a really good servant for Wolves, a really good captain, and I do wish him all the best. But his time was up really at the club, and I think as soon as he went to Everton on that loan, I don't think any Wolves fan really expected to see him back playing in a Wolves shirt again.
No, I
So
think I'll climb up, to be honest.
yeah, it's a sort of a shame how it ended because it did get quite toxic near the end, with his family members sort of slagging off the club and Bruno Lage. But that is what it is. It's football. Sadly, things like that happen. And yeah, I think it's a great deal for both parties because, I think he can certainly add, some quality to that Leicester side under a new manager. And I think, he's good in the championship at the end of the day. He's a good championship player. He'll bring sort of leadership, that sort of, if anything, he could be captain, really, couldn't he? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised to see him walk in and be captain there, just because of what he's done and the sort of leadership everyone knows he brings to dressing rooms. So, I mean, Leicester aren't messing, are they? They want to go straight back to the Prem, and I think with all the parachute payments and the money they can spend from that, they're not bringing in unbelievable players. But when you look at the likes of Harry Winks and Conor Coady, they're going to be standout championship players. So,
you bang on, yeah, literally.
yeah,
Um,
they're working well.
so yeah, Henry, might as well go to you. Have you got anything to add to what I've said?
Not really. I mean, when you talk about £8.5 million, it's a good fee for a player that's probably not got. I'm not exactly sure, but he's probably not got much long on his deal, really, to be honest.
It was 1 year.
He's on loan last season. He wasn't a player that was going to come back into the setup. Wasn't a player that would have suited our setup. And with the issues we're in, we seem to be working well to get good fees for players that are already going to leave or aren't really in the plans. So I'm all for it. Obviously, there's the few that would like to see him back. I wasn't against seeing him back. I mean, I wouldn't play him week in, week out, but in terms of the dressing room impact, I wouldn't necessarily be against that. But you saw it last summer. You've seen it this summer again. I think he doesn't want to be a bench player. He wants to continue to challenge the England team. He wants to, get in there. Well, that's why he left last summer, isn't it? Really,
No,
for
you're
for
right, and sadly for
um,
him, he's ended up in the championship. So
yeah, he's desperate to play. So if that comes above sort of being a club player and a bench player for someone like us, so be it. It's fair enough. It's a player's career. He's near his 30s now. So
yeah,
towards
29,
yeah,
I'd say something
just
like that.
about towards the end of his career, you can't blame him. Great deal for both parties. Got a good fee, and hopefully we can move forward.
Yeah, John, anything to add on what me and Henry have said?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Like, even though I know some fans think that it would be a good backup on the bench, I generally don't think he would be happy with that. He wants 90 minutes every game, and I just don't think we can give him that. I just don't think he's quick enough in a back four. He's completely fine in a back five, but obviously we're not going to change that. It took us that long to go back to a back four. We're not going to go back. I really doubt it. And I think like the fee, 8.5 million, well, he's pretty much funded Lamina, hasn't he? If you think about it, he's funded a player that's going to start pretty much every game for us. I think Lamina's nearly a year younger than him as well. It just makes perfect sense. good for both parties. It's a good fee. I didn't think we'd even get half of that. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
Yeah, I agree with you both. Not really disagreeing this podcast. I don't think. I think we're all
Yeah,
sharing the same opinion. But let's move on to another outgoing. I'll keep saying another outgoing, but to be honest, 90% of
I
this
think
podcast
what we
will
got.
be. Yeah, 90% of this podcast will be on outgoings. To be fair, let me find him. Here he is, Nathan Collins.
There we
I'll
go.
move away from this ad so nothing dodgy happens. But Nathan Collins, £23 million done deal to Brentford, been announced today. I think at like 2 o'clock, something like that. It was
Relatively
announced.
early. Relatively early.
Yeah, not too long ago as we're recording this. Really, personally, not too pleased about this. I think the fee is, I understand we've made what 3 million profit, something like that, potentially
Not
with
even two and
add-ons.
a half. Two and a
Yeah,
half.
exactly. But I'm not particularly pleased with the deal, as I've said. I
Yeah.
generally think there's a player in Nathan Collins. I think in the future he'll be really good. I think he'll have a really good career, whether that is, and that's what was said in the statement, wasn't it, by Matt Hobbs? He pretty much said like, we're going to take the hit here, just for our financial situation. We understand that, we still believe in Collins and still think he has brilliant potential, but the reality is we need the money, and
Yeah.
you're getting more money than you paid for him. And 23 million, it's quite a decent fee, I guess, for the situation that we're in. I'm not really, as I've said already, I'm not really a big fan of the deal because, I think Nathan Collins could have had a real good long term sort of future at Wolves. 100% with Dawson sort of aging. We could have been a real sort of long stay in this team and at this football
Yeah.
club. I really like the guy. Okay, he had a few poor moments, a few poor games, but I think the criticism that he received was a lot of the time quite unjustified and quite harsh, and especially from the sort of older fan base. I think he was used as quite a bit of a scapegoat. So for me, I do think there's a real player in him, and I wish him nothing but the best. You can't fault his attitude, can't fault his commitment or anything like that. Whatever word you want to use, I've got nothing but good words to say about him. I think he'll be a real asset to Brentford. You've got Ethan Pinnock and Ben Mee, they're two centre backs, both of them 30 and 33. So he's going to be a real long term player for Brentford. And I was also thinking, Brentford not really been sort of like, the most hostile, biggest club, quite a sort of known as quite a stereotypical family club, that sort of thing. I feel like that's an environment that possibly he could thrive under and he could really sort of show his potential. And yeah, that's all I've got to really say on it. Henry, anything you want to add to that? Or yeah.
I mean, obviously, when you look at his game, there's a player there. Think for me, I think he's a good natural defender. I think he's got all the attributes to be a top centre half. He's 6'4" or something. He's quick. I wouldn't say he's unbelievable on the ball, but I think that's something that can be taught. I think sometimes he looks a little bit erratic, but again, that comes with age. He's what, 21, 22. So he's so young for a centre. How many starting Premier League centre halves do you see at 21? Not many whatsoever. So I think that speaks to the volumes of how good and how mature of a player he actually is when you consider his age. Again, as you said, Mark, I'm not particularly happy with this because the profit margin is small. But you've got to consider that we have inserted a sell-on clause. So we will get, I'm not sure what that'll be. I believe it'll probably be 15, 20% if we're lucky.
Hopefully that'll be a nice add-on clause, to be fair.
Yeah, because obviously not making much profit. If he does become that big centre half for a top six club or a European club that we all think he can be, that 15% selling clause, which we hope it'll be, could turn into 15-20 million pounds at some point, and that could be a really big fee for us. But again, with the centre back situation, we seem to be clearing out whether Lopetegui wants him or not. We're not sure. And if Lopetegui doesn't want him, then I guess you've got to go with the manager's flow and sort of understand that if you've got a good offer on the table, you accept it if he's not a player that's going to be featuring week in, week out. And although he's a good centre half with our financial situation, I don't think we can necessarily afford to keep players for the future. I think we need players now that are going to be trusted to start week in, week out now and trusted wherever. I'm not sure Collins quite has that trust of Lopetegui. So I think, although I'm not particularly happy, I think it could favour us in long term.
Yeah. I don't really disagree with what you said. I think that's what Matt Hodd sort of touched on, didn't he? Sort of said for the sort of future of the club, this fee could go a long way, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Anything else to add on that, John?
I think I'm maybe a little bit more happy with the deal than others. For me, when Collins came on, especially in the last part of the season, I thought he was quite shaky. I was quite nervous. He is a great player, but I just feel like that's going to more develop in time. I don't think he's quite there yet for where we want to be. I think if he was with a club that already had a really sturdy defence, and maybe they can have him on the back burner and gradually developing. But I don't think we're in that position. I think we need two solid centre backs, and I don't think we have that. And I think really Collins is a Bruno Lage signing. It's not a Lopetegui signing, and I just don't think. Yeah, I don't think Lopetegui's got much trust in him, and I think really 23 million potentially. We don't know if there is add-ons, but there's definitely a release clause. I think that's quite a lot of money for potentially Lopetegui to pick who he wants. And if you think about maybe not his last season at Seville, but the seasons before, he picked basically a really solid defence. They were really famous in the world and in Spain for having a solid defence, which Lopetegui really picked. So with that kind of money and the money from Coady, I'm quite looking forward to seeing what two centre backs he picks, because I just think he's more of a future player. He's not a current player, and I'm quite happy with the deal. Yeah, he always got me a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Just a quick one here, Matt. I've just seen a tweet from Talking Wolves actually, and it says that, just touch on the Collins deal. Wolves are no longer under any financial pressure to sell any players following the sale of Nathan Collins. That's from Sky Sports News. So I think that's come out in the last half an hour. So I think that probably again says that this deal was one where it was like, this is a good opportunity to guarantee clear the books for the summer, and we are under no pressure to get rid of players we don't want to get rid of late in the window because of FFP issues. I think it's an opportunity they maybe had to seize, and I think again, as Matt Hobbs said, this fee could go a long way to next season and players we could bring in this season.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I haven't seen that myself.
Yeah, it's
And
literally
if
that's what it is.
if it's true, then yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think it's a clip. I can't watch it, but that's what Talking Wolves are saying. So usually,
yeah, no, I'm not saying that. Yeah, of course they'll be reliable, but it's a weird one because I don't think many fans sort of thought Nathan Collins would be leaving this summer.
Yeah, I thought it would be one that we'd keep and develop, and if anyone was going to go, it'd be Kilman. And I still
exactly,
think
and that moves us perfectly on to the next player that we're going to discuss, Max Kilman, under big interest from Napoli. Here he is. This isn't the original report; it's a bit of a dodgy one, to be fair. But Napoli going for Max Kilman as a Kim Min-jae replacement, not something that I really thought I'd be speaking about this podcast or this summer at all. Max Kilman potentially going to Napoli to replace Kim, but yeah, it seems to be, in my opinion, I think this deal will happen. I think the sort of margin is about £5 million, something like that. I think Wolves want £35 million, and Napoli have paid or already offered 30 million. So for me, a club like Napoli, and you think they haven't even sold Kim yet. He's, Bayern haven't even activated his release clause yet. So I think they'll absolutely meet that.
It's gonna go through, I think, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one with Kilman because he is coming off a poor season, in my opinion. But I do rate him. I don't think he's as good defensively as he should be. I think that's certainly something he needs to work on. But I actually feel in a team sort of like Napoli in the Serie A, who are probably more of a possession-based team, sort of coming up against less pressure. Because, you look at the game, for example, against Arsenal, where it was countless attack after attack after attack. Kilman really struggled. No, so did the whole defence, don't get me wrong, but Kilman was certainly a victim of that. And I think with a team like Napoli, who are one of the better sides in the Italian league, I think he'll probably be a quite accomplished sort of player for them. Because he's good on the ball, that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
I've got some different thoughts to Kilman. I think a few fans might have. I think this season, and particularly the end of this season, has made my view a lot clearer on what I think of him. I think he's a good centre half. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he's necessarily suited to the Premier League. And it's kind of weird because he's got all the attributes that should be suited to the Premier League. But for me, he's a little bit lackluster in the box. I don't think you never see him attack a ball. When you
It's true.
the difference with him and Dawson, I think I've seen it in the last area season. There was a ball in that might just be experience, but with Kilman's height and sort of physical prowess, you'd expect him to be challenging the ball every time. But I don't see him go up there and be physical enough and use his stature and
He's a big
strength.
lad, isn't he? So
He is
yeah,
big, and I think he's not. He doesn't seem to. I mean, I might be completely wrong because obviously I'm not on the pitch, but he doesn't seem to me to communicate excellently on the pitch. I think he's got the attributes to be a great centre half in a different league, and I think he's got the attributes to be a great centre half in the Premier League, maybe. But I just don't think he maybe utilises those skills efficiently. And
yeah,
I think he could utilise them better. But obviously, I mean, I was talking to my dad about this actually, and he was like, it's risky because Kilman may not be the best centre back we could go out for, but selling two centre backs that we know are all right and that can do a shift is better. It's a risky strategy because we're going to be bringing in 2-3 centre halves, and there's no guarantee that they work out. And at least with Kilman, we know he's decent.
yeah. I hear it. I do hear it. I just think I sort of
Yeah,
agree with what you're saying. I just think personally for me, he's not aggressive enough.
yeah, I agree with that.
Like he's such a, as I said earlier, he's such a big lad. Like he almost
Yeah,
seems to like not want to get stuck in sometimes, and I think that really sort of doesn't really go with his favour. But I think we'd all agree if we were to get £35 million for
oh,
Max
it's a
Kilman,
brilliant fee. It's a brilliant fee.
even though it's not ideal selling all these players, they're going to get replaced at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
because we need to replace them. And for me, I'd be absolutely fine with sending him for 35 million. I think considering the fee we bought him for, sorry, you can't really go wrong with that, in my opinion. Have you got anything to add, John?
The only thing that worries me is the fact that obviously now Collins is gone and now Coady's gone. It's the obviously we're getting rid of homegrown English players, and that worries me because we didn't have many to begin with. If you look at other teams and how many they've got, that's the only thing. I do agree with what Henry said. I don't think he's quite amazing as some fans make out. He's a good centre back, but I think there is room with the money we get from him to get an improved, better centre back. But my issue is obviously we're going to have to start buying English players or homegrown players because we're losing too many, and it's either that or we just make the squad smaller, which I don't think we can do because we've got too many players as it is. So it's quite worrying how many English players we're losing.
I think that's fair enough. I think that will sort of bring to us at the end where we're going to answer a few questions that have been DM'd, and we're just going to sort of discuss transfer targets, that sort of thing, and we'll get to sort of that English sort of thing that John's on about. Because I do agree with him. At the end of the day, you need to fit them rules, and we are losing quite a few. But let's move away from.
We've got some more killer news on Twitter now.
Oh, really?
Keep getting notifications. It's just basically Calcio Mercato. I'm not sure exactly how reliable. They're just saying that the sort of package in terms of a wage is agreed, and Kilman's sort of willing to move. They've already spoken to him on that. So that tells me that they're pretty confident they're going to get a fee agreed with Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of said it this podcast. He'll be gone. That's just the reality of it. I think David Ornstein, he was the one that broke the news. When he reported it, he almost said that Kilman would be open to staying, which I sort of understand because I feel like he's that type of character. When he's quite settled. Obviously, I don't know the bloke, but when he's quite settled, I feel like he wouldn't be too against moving. But at the end of the day, like if you're going to offer Serie A winners Napoli, who are in Champions League,
you're not turning it down.
or
He'll
Wolves,
get improved wage there as well.
I'm sorry, but he'd be stupid to say no. So of course he's going to be open to the move. I feel like he's just the type of guy that, for example, if that move wasn't to go through, he'd knuckle down sort of thing.
He wouldn't force something, would he?
Yeah, he wouldn't, like Football Manager, and he wouldn't be an unhappy player. He's that. I back that.
It's a great move. It's a great move
for him. Like flipping out Napoli, fair play. It shows that other clubs. Other clubs must think he has something about him.
We haven't mentioned that sell-on. Just really quick, we haven't mentioned the sell-on clause that the reportedly Maidenhead have got 25%.
Oh yeah, we've been messaging a few people, haven't we? trying to find
Yeah,
out about this.
trying to work it out. It sounds like it's in the region of 20 to 25%. I
It's a,
guess it's quite hefty in it, and that kind of explains why we want an inflated fee.
true, because if
We'll only be getting 27.5 million or so of that
yeah,
35
yeah,
group. So I mean,
yes,
it's still a great
Yeah.
chunk of money, I think.
true. I agree. And maybe that's the reason why they rejected 30, because every Wolves was thinking 30. That's what
That's it,
how the
yeah.
hell are we not accepting? But
I,
they're
I, I
probably
I think
taking that.
I think rejecting tells you that they're confident of getting a deal done, and also that we're not actually under pressure to sell anymore, which I think is
No,
a good.
that's a fair point. I agree with what you said earlier. It links that together, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, and it starts
Yeah.
to all make sense now, and hopefully we can focus on some income, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah. We'll 100% get to incomings. Let me move this here. So John, take it away, mate. You're gonna mention our new signing, aren't you? But yeah, take it
Yeah,
away.
well,
This is
I
your
could talk.
moment.
Yeah, so obviously we've got a new signing, Tom King, that's came in, who's going to be our third choice. And at the moment, it looks like we're going to be able to loan out some of our fringe goalkeepers. So most likely Sarkic, Molden, he'll most likely get a loan out and get like valuable experience. But one of the main things is, I think, is that we've got another homegrown player in. So currently you can register a 25-man squad in the Premier League, but only 17 of them can be foreign players over the age of 21. So at the moment, if we look at like the players that have left, that are out of contract, and we look at the players that we've sold, we've actually got 15 players now that are in the foreign category, which means they're over 21 years of age. And were born outside of the UK. So we haven't got much room at all, and that's where the problems really lie. Obviously, we have got the opportunity to sell players that most likely will go, like Raul, who fits that foreign policy. Ryan Nori now, if we can see just there on the screen, he's 22 now. So this season he's just turned into a what's classed as a foreign player. Johnny Otto as well. So obviously there are some players there that can go to free up some space. I think the worry is if they don't go, we've only got two positions available. One thing that people may not know is that Hugo Breno is actually, even though he is foreign, he's going to be in the future a homegrown player. He's only 20 now, but next year would be in some problems if he wasn't at Wolves for how long he's been. But basically, what the rule states is that if you've played for your club, or just been registered to that club for 3 whole seasons before your 21st birthday, you're then registered as a homegrown player. So, and then that's the same with Fabio Silva, because Fabio Silva is still only 20 years of age. And this month, 1st of July, he officially finished his 3rd season, which means that he's actually classed as a homegrown player. And that also means if we do ever sell him, or if he goes to another club, if, say, for example, we sold him to Seville, in the future, if he developed to be a really good striker, and maybe a Premier League team came in for him, he would be valued a lot more money because he'd actually be classed as a homegrown player. So I just thought I'd touch on that, and also it means if I see Wolves being linked to quite a lot of new forwards, but obviously most of them seem to be aged like between 19, 20, those kind of age categories. And I think that's because obviously we've got some players that are running out of contract next year, so they know that if they can get someone in that's 20, they can go the whole season with being classed as an under 21 player, which doesn't get classed as foreign. And then next year, when they do finally hit 21 and they're classed as a foreign player, someone like Raul, Podence, someone that's not got long left on the contract will go and then fulfill a spot for that player. So the actual people think you can just sign someone that's 20 and that's fine, but there's actually new rules that came in place. So for you to register a player now, player has to be born after the 1st of January 2003. So basically what they've said is that player can't turn 21 until after the halfway point of the season. So it also limits us even more of players. So
No, I think you've explained that well, to be fair.
Yeah, no problem. So I just thought I'd go into a little bit more about it. So we haven't got much room at the moment. Two spaces available for foreign players over the age of 21.
Yeah.
It's fair. And on Tom King, as John said, he's coming in to be our third choice keeper, and that will probably mean I think you did say this, but I could be wrong. Sarkic will be going on a permanent to somewhere. It pretty much means he'll be gone. If anyone's too fussed, wish the lad all the best. And let me just I can't even get my words out, man. Stop sharing my screen, and to end off this podcast, we're just going to answer a few questions that I've been DM'd. So let me just get them up on my phone as we speak. And yeah, I'm just going to ask you. They're not Instagram questions; they're from Instagram DMs. But yeah, I will. Let's answer these. So priority transfer position. Start with you, John. Priority transfer position. What position for you is priority for Wolves to sign this summer?
Well, currently at the moment, if we still keep hold of Kilman, which at the moment we do, with Totti still being a backup, I'd probably say still. I think we still need a striker. I think we need goals. I think that is the main thing for us staying in the Premier League. We just didn't score enough goals last season. We need literally a player that's coming in that scored, I think, 20 goals. Like we've been linked to players that are coming in that have scored nearly 20 goals. Yes, in the French league, but I think that's the kind of criteria of player we need. Even if it's someone older, like I don't know, Coady that's been at Turkey and scored 20, we need a real big goal scorer that can come and at least then transfer those goals that they've got into the Prem. Maybe they can get us 10 goals a season. We need a minimum of 10 goal a season striker in the Prem.
Yeah.
And I think you'd have to get someone like that, as I say, that kind of profile that's just scored loads and come off a really good season.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more really. But just to be different, I do probably think it's striker. But just to be different, I'm going to say creative midfielder. I won't mention names because we'll get to that, and I think you all know who I'm thinking about here. But I think every Wolves fan is actually thinking about him. But we just need someone really that can just glue it together. We got talking about creativity. You got Ryan Giles coming back. Will he have a future at Wolves? Who knows? I think there's a big chance he does. But we'll have to see what Lopetegui thinks on him. But he's not really a creative midfielder. He's more of a fullback or could play wing. But for me, we need a creative midfielder, whether that's a Cam, whether that's sort of someone that can just drift in between the lines. I don't know, but something that can just really glue the midfield and attack together, and just sustain some good output and chance creation. Because for me, I think on XG last season, I'm not one to XG this, XG that, but we were bottom of XG, which shows that we simply just didn't create enough. It's all good scoring, but to score you need to create. So for me, it'll be a Cam. Henry, what's yours, mate?
Well, to be different again, I'll say centre half because it looks like it's been a big outgoing centre half this summer, isn't it? Kilman looking like it's going to go. Collins has gone. Sanderson will be sold on permanent or loan. Longwick's gone on loan. We literally have Totti and Dawson. So we definitely need a centre half. In my eyes, two starting centre halves because you can't rely on an older Dawson if he gets injured. We can't have we can't have no backup to that. So you've got to bring in two centre halves in my mind.
Yeah, I think in my opinion we should have bought. We would have, even with just Collins and Coady going, we should be bringing in two. And if Kilman goes, you could argue that's three. We need, which obviously won't happen. But next question, probably to end off the podcast. You need to think on the spot here, lads. It's a tough one. Priority signing. So one player. I'm going to start, and I'm going to annoy you both and say the one you're probably both thinking of. Alex Scott. Nothing to add on that. I think he's exactly the type of player we need. Exactly what I sort of focused on earlier. John, any player, mate? Put you on the spot.
I would say, even though I do agree with you, I'd say Garcia as well from La Liga, just because he's a captain. He's been called up to Spain, and everyone just seems to really rate him. So that's another one.
Got a release clause, hasn't he?
£17 million release clause, yeah. So it's not massive money for someone with his experience, international captain.
Henry, any name?
I'm struggling to think of a name, but a Victor Gyökeres type striker.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, I mean,
I said
I
Alex Scott. I can't say anything.
give me 5 minutes, give you a better suggestion. But thinking off the top of my head, somebody like that, a physical profile of a striker that's gonna be able to bag you a lot of goals, sort of guaranteed.
Trey Adams. Oh, when I seen that link, I almost cried. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for listening. Make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts, comment your priority signing, comment your priority transfer position. Check out all the social medias, Wolfpack WWFC. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you all later. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit, guys.